Join UF Hall of Famer and 14-year NFL vet Shane Matthews every weekday as he brings you all you need to know about your Florida Gators, including news, analysis, and opinions with some of the biggest names in sports. Find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or watch us live at 8 a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter.
Good morning. It's a live edition of PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Tuesday. We'll have Buddy Martin here momentarily. Then we're going to have Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com breaking down the Florida LSU game that tips off 8 o'clock Eastern time in the O'Connell Center tonight. Big game for the Gators. Need to continue their momentum. Winning basketball games. Also, softball plays at JU tonight. They went 4-1 over the weekend. I'm not sure who's pitching tonight. They'll play JU back in Gainesville tomorrow. Don't forget tomorrow's program. We'll have Kevin O'Sullivan, head baseball coach of Florida, who signed a long-term extension yesterday. He will join us second portion of tomorrow's program, talk about the upcoming season. So make sure you tune in, shoot us your messages that you may have for Sully about Gator baseball. Some other SEC games tonight. Ole Miss is at Kentucky. We'll see if the Wildcats can win a basketball game at home. Never lost 3 in a row at home. They've done that. A&M is at Vandy. So that's what's happening tonight in SEC play. Do we have Buddy on yet? Good morning, Buddy Martin. How you doing?
Good morning, Shane. How are you? I'm sitting here right in front of the Bay, as we call it here in St. Andrews, and after a 5-hour drive and ready to go again on my phone till my gear gets here. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. We got a lot to talk about today, buddy. First of all, I just want to get your thoughts. You and I talked a little bit about the Super Bowl in your program last night. It was the highest or the most watched program ever on TV. I did see that come out. Does it surprise me? I'm sure the Taylor whatchamacallit effect had something to do with it. But it ended up being a heck of a football game. Give me your thoughts of what you saw in the Super Bowl.
Well, I agree with you on the game. I think it had a pretty good sideshow as well. I don't know how much that contributed to it, but I wonder what it means beyond that. We know it was 2 really good teams. 49ers are every bit as good as the Chiefs. They just didn't get it done when they needed to have it done. And the Chiefs of course, they had Mahomes, the guy you've declared as GOAT already. So I'm not surprised. I knew when they didn't score in the first half. I told my friends here that don't worry, they've got some firepower left. But quite frankly, the 49er defense was playing awfully good. Mahomes is just the guy, is the X factor. How can you ever begin to think you stop a guy like that who goes 110 miles an hour at all times, and it's fast and accurate. So I'm not surprised they came back. I thought the defense of the 49ers might stand up a little bit better, but hey, you know what? That guy's tough to catch. I think the question becomes, Shane, here is, what does this mean about football in general? Now, you and I have had these conversations a lot about the game of college football, the game of pro football. It's a more entertaining game. And I've talked about this a lot over the years. Back in my youth, when I first visualized college football becoming like the NFL, and actually wrote a column 32 years ago saying they should skinny up the college football field and narrow it down to about 65 or 70 teams, let them play it down for a championship, which they wound up doing or will do. I had no idea that the games would change this much. As I said to you last week, it seems like college football is more like pro football, as we saw the Wolverines looking like an NFL team, running the ball, be able to win in the trenches. And now we see this team playing so fast, like with the run and shoot or whatever, in the 49ers and the Chiefs. So it was a very entertaining game. I really liked watching it. I watched it as a fan for the first time ever in my life in the first half, and then of course studied the second half. And I saw the same game you did. I might have had made a little more of the sideshow than you did. I'm not an Usher fan, but by all accounts, all the things that people said about the event, and you didn't even hear it because you had no audio. It added to the package, I guess. And you cannot discount Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Although I think Travis Kelce's character took a little bit of a ding after he tried to bump and knock over his head coach. That was not a very pretty scene. But I think it was an outstanding performance. And college game has got to catch up some now, or else the coaches are all going to coach in the NFL now, it seems like. And the transitional state of college football makes it less attractive. And college football has some baggage, I think, that the NFL does not.
Yeah, for sure. Andy, that's why we have great listeners. He said, actually, the moonwalk in 1969 was watched more, but the Super Bowl was number 2. I was just going, we had someone text on the Titan MR text line that it was the most watched ever event on TV. So ESPN must have got it wrong. Buddy, we got a text here on the Titan MR.
Yeah, sorry.
They just said the most watched TV event. But anyway, Bob says, or asked on the Titan MR text line, do y'all think the Chiefs are now a dynasty? Your thoughts, buddy?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to, but what is it, 3 out of 4 in the back-to-back. And now I'm not sure how you officially qualify as a dynasty. You know, it's like when people used to talk about golf, you like golf, about the 5th major. What is the 5th major? The Players' Championship? I don't know. How do you make a 5th major? How do you make a dynasty? There's no description that says, okay, the following things have to happen to be a dynasty. I would say a force, if you want to call them dynasty. I got no problem with that. I think of the dynasties of things like UCLA Bruins. And they won, 12 championships. But I think certainly if they're not, they're on their way. They're the best team in pro football right now.
Yeah, I would put them there. You know, as I've stated multiple times on here, Mahomes has been a starter for 6 years. He's gone to 4 Super Bowls. They won 3 of those and only lost to Burrow and Brady in overtime. So they're on their way if they're not already. I think put Andy Reid at the top of the totem pole, in my opinion, as the greatest NFL coach. I know he's still got some work to do, but I think he's been very successful everywhere he's been. So we had another text here. Andy says it's hard to believe that Trey Dean has a Super Bowl ring and Dan Marino doesn't.
Yeah, it's true. It certainly is true. Well, it's not. I mean, here's the other thing. When you talk about great quarterbacks of all time, again, what is the criterion? I mean, Mahomes obviously is in the conversation, but as an older guy who's been around, who's seen everybody from Bart Starr on through and watched them, observed and covered the game, I have to go back to the thing that people used to always say before: be careful about saying the greatest of anything. I mean, again, your criteria. It's really opinion, no matter what you say. There is an exception. I think the women golfers have a qualification to be in the Hall of Fame. You have to win so many tournaments, certain kind of tournaments, etc. So I guess it's just about guys like us that help shape opinions. I certainly do respect your opinion about the game of football, and especially the NFL, because you played in it, you know it, and so I would say your opinion counts as much as anybody does. But I mean, let's pay a little respect. I mean, Terry Bradshaw's one that taught me a long time ago when people started to call him the greatest quarterback. He said, because he did, by the way, go undefeated in the Super Bowl, and because don't forget about guys way back in the day. You know, Otto Graham, who is he? He won multiple world championships, quote unquote, before there was the Super Bowl or the Browns. Otto Graham. So there needs to be some definition of the greatest. But in terms of this conversation, I think you put Patrick Mahomes in there as a potential future GOAT, and I think he could well be. And the only thing that worries me about him, Shane, is he gets in harm's way a lot. I'm shocked he's never taken a hit. Well, he has taken some. He is very vulnerable to getting his head knocked off, as we saw with that helmet picture where the helmet came apart. So I worry about that in this Valley game, him playing so hard, running so fast. But boy, he certainly has been a great quarterback so far. and I'm willing to concede to you, my friend, as the authority on quarterbacks.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's the most gifted that I think we've ever seen win at a high level. He's got everything you're looking for and more, and I think that's why he'll be the greatest of all time. Matt from Mariana on the Titan Mar text line is going back to the Mighty Gators play calling. Says, "While I agree that defense was a problem, 100%, I think a lot of fan discontent with play calling stems from Gator fans being used to Steve Spurrier and Dan Mullen calling as great play callers. How would you compare Billy Napier's play calling to Dan Mullen and Steve Spurrier's?" I think Billy is a much better run game play caller than both of those. As I said, I have no problem at all with what Billy does. We just have to take at least 5 to 6 shots a game. If he does that, then that changes fans' perspective towards him, in my opinion, because they see the ball being thrown down the field. For whatever
Please. I think you're talking about
elite.
May I speak to that issue just for a second? Let's say tell it like it is. Billy is not an elite play caller. Okay, he's not.
Mm-mm.
He's a good play caller. He has a nice blend. He's proven that whenever he's got the right people in the places, that he can make it work, and he has that done. And as we know in the Sun Belt, but Billy has not established himself as an elite play caller. And last night in the conversation, we had a long discussion about Billy, about what he needed to do, what he needed to change, and etc. And the fact that Billy has not been very forthcoming about what he's doing. It's kind of hard to figure out what he's doing. He doesn't really tell you what he's doing. But Billy is a potentially really good play caller. I'm with you. I think he could probably call the plays, but he can't do everything. And this is the problem we get into. Last night's conversation on our show, people started talking about the fact that we didn't like Billy because of personal reasons. Accuse me of not liking Billy because he never gave me a one-on-one interview. I don't judge coaches by that at all. So I think he's got to move some mountains this year. And I think his play calling is but one thing. There are other things he's got to do. And most of all, as you say, Shane, he's got to win. That's it. He's got to win.
Yep. And there's only a handful of great play callers, period. I mean, you look at the National Football League, the greatest players in the world, there's 32 teams, and there's only about 8 great play callers in that entire league, quite honestly.
Yeah, so, that's a great point.
But I have no problem with the way he calls plays. If what I would like to see is 6 to 8 balls thrown deep. And that's different ways of throwing deep because only good things happen when you throw it down the field, in my opinion. Yeah. So that's that. Buddy, I wanted to get your thoughts also. We talked about it on your program last night. We talked about it a little bit yesterday on my show. There are a lot of Gator fans. I don't know if it was on your show last night, all up in arms about the strength coach that was here 4 to 5 weeks left to go to Boston College. My all the text and messages that I received for the program was, I don't understand how someone can leave the University of Florida and go to Boston College. Okay. As I stated on your program last night and on mine, you have to not become a fan and understand what happened here. This is a guy that has a long history of working for Bill O'Brien. They were together at Maryland. Bill O'Brien is the head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions. He brings him to be his head strength guy. Bill O'Brien goes to the National Football League, which everybody's going to follow their coach to the National Football League. He did that. Bill O'Brien was not a head coach until about 2 weeks ago, or maybe a week ago, and now his buddy is going to work for him. This has nothing to do with Billy Napier or the administration or blah, blah, blah. This is what coaching is all about, relationships and working with people that are your buddies.
Yeah, I mean, your point about relationships and being linked up is spot on, and I understand that part. There are a couple of things that concern me, is that let's go back a little bit to hockey as a strength coach. Clearly, Billy made a mistake on hiring him. He's made a couple other hiring mistakes. As you pointed out last night, he is the first coach to make mistakes hiring people. But his program has so many moving parts with 100 staff members. I wonder sometimes if it's just a nightmare to manage. I mean, the mayor of New York has probably a harder job, but that's a lot of people to manage. Because all the management courses I've ever taken in my life was you need one person for every five to manage. And, the numbers they got. So if you add on all those things, you add on the fact that his play calling has been okay, but not great. You add on the fact that his defense has been atrocious. You add on he just hired his new defensive coordinator and had to fire two veterans. And then they bring a guy in who was the mentor of the guy who was Arson Armstrong as the so-called executive coach. There's a lot of things there that aren't clear. And I just seemed like a conundrum, as they would say, with so many moving parts and not being well managed. Everything down from accounting of the number of players on the field to having the wrong two players for the same number. There's a lot wrong. It's not fixed. So there's no evidence that really Billy has made any big strides in the most obvious areas. And now we're going back to something that we thought we had covered, which is the strength coach. Whatever the reason was, he lost his strength coach. So when you add them all up, it's confusing. It doesn't look like a well-oiled machine. They're not running like they're not. I hope they get in their stride early, because they don't. It's going to be a brutal year, because we know the back half of the schedule is the killer. So I think it's all of the things that added together that leave Billy's future uncertain.
Yeah, for sure. But as I said, I don't think it's that big a deal. Kevin in Punta Gorda on the Titan MR text line. How much practice does it take to get rhythm right for a deep ball to be efficient? That's a great question.
Good question.
So you don't really practice deep balls, quite honestly, because it's going to be different in a game. So, for example, when you call a deep ball, is it a clean pocket? Does the quarterback take his steps? Does he get it off? Is it the right coverage for whatever you have called on the deep ball? Did the receiver get pressed at the line of scrimmage? Was he rerouted during his route? A lot of things are go into consideration here. Was it the right combination to throw deep? So having said all that, regardless of that, you still have to throw 6 to 8 of them down there and give your guy a chance to make a play or get pass interference. That's simple. You look at the Super Bowl. I don't think they completed a deep ball the entire game. Multiple deep balls were thrown, but I don't think they completed any of them. And those are the best players in the world. And so you're not going to complete them all, but you got to throw them down there.
Well, that was
all right,
all,
buddy. So say that again.
I said that was the whole Raider offense. The quarterback had to hold the ball because Al Davis wanted to throw the ball deep multiple times a game. They're champions of the deep ball.
But you still don't have to throw it. See, a lot of people don't understand a deep ball. They've done studies for years and years and years on deep balls. They are completed at 44 to 48 yards. Okay. Like Coach Spurrier said multiple times, if our offensive lineman can whiff up front, and you should get your deep ball thrown on time. You're going to get hit, but you still should get it off. It's still a timing deal. You're never going to throw a ball 55, 60, 70 yards unless it's a Hail Mary. So people think deep ball that you have to hold it, and throw it a long ways. That's not the case.
It's a great point.
All right.
It's a great point by you, and you know it. Which leads me to ask this question: of all the deep balls you threw in your career, what are the one or two that were the most well executed?
Well, we completed. I did this, not a study, but I did something years ago, and I need to find it. Danny threw like 112 touchdowns. I think I threw 82. I can't remember how many Rex was, around 70-ish. I'm talking about just under the Spurrier. I think if I'm not mistaken, like 60-something% of those were thrown on corners and post routes.
Okay.
And I'm a huge believer in corners and post because you have angles. Throwing the football is about angles, just like shooting pool. That's why a lot of people, when a guy misses a seam route or something like that, it may be a bad angle, and either the receiver ran it wrong or spacing or whatever. But throwing the football, the throwing game is all about angles. But I would say my favorite deep ball that I threw, or one that I was not surprised, but it was from the 1 yard line in Tuscaloosa against Alabama. We went, Coach Burr called the pass pattern 7 is what it was called. It was X on a dig, Z on a deep post, and I slung it down the middle of the field to Ernie Mills. It would have been a 99-yard touchdown pass, but he got tripped up by the turf on about the 30. But that was a good one that I hit in stride. So, but there's so many of them. But yeah, corners and post is what I love.
Yeah,
and I would like to see us throw
think
more.
About it. It's too Shane. You know, this should have rupture. My audio was never real good tonight. It's a safe pass. It really is a safe pass.
Very safe. Very safe.
Yeah, and that's number one. Secondly, I would like to say the way I saw the game change when Coach Troy was there before you even got there, it was, and the way he called the game. I don't remember seeing a lot of underthrown balls, which was the art form with those guys and Quezzy and Ike and those guys. And they also were great at going up on the 50-50 balls. They called a lot of 50-50 balls. Go ahead.
You know why balls weren't underthrown?
Why?
Because we took our steps, hitched, and let the ball go. There was no waiting. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, back shoulder
Great
throws
passing.
was something, but back shoulder throws.
We didn't have the back shoulder. The back shoulder wasn't around when we put.
You didn't have, but the guys after you had it under Spurrier.
Not really. I don't remember the back shoulder. I'm just saying. You know, you don't have to have great arm strength to throw the deep ball. If you take your steps and you let it go on time, you'll throw it at 44 to 48 yards is all you need. I got to get this read here, buddy. Live a healthier lifestyle with our bold, flavorful smoothies and our amazing food. Tropical smoothie. When you eat better, you feel better. I got Buddy Martin here on the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements. We'll have Chris Harry here momentarily talking about the basketball game tonight. I want to get your thoughts on basketball, buddy. They're on a little run here. They're going to make the tournament. They're a team, in my opinion, that can cause a lot of problems in the tournament because of guard play and size.
I love the guard play, but I can't say enough about the guys who hit the glass. They have got one of the best offensive rebounding teams in Florida I've ever seen, and they got length there. And I'll tell you what, there are moments, there are flashes. Honestly, guys, they look like national champions. Some of those plays. When Ronnie Kugel's playing great, and he can play great, by the way, and even Bruce Pearl said this, there's no stopping him. You can't stop Ronnie Kugel. Not to mention the fact they got some big bodies in there. Where the guards are hitting their threes, yes. When they don't, as we saw the other night, it can be proven. But this team, I don't know. I hate to use the word potential because it's like they say, potential is a French word that means you're not worth a damn yet. And this team is worth a damn. And this team, if it gels at the right time, and you know the old thing about you got to win 6 games at the right time. You got to start winning in March. If this team has the potential, if they kick it in high, there's no telling what they might wind up doing.
For sure. Text on the Titan MR text line, Jackson in Atlanta says, how about Tommy Townsend with another Super Bowl ring?
Wow.
Yeah, Tommy,
how about he kicked great
he punted extremely well. His on that 57-yarder, boy, he had great quick hands getting that hole down. I said this, I guess, last year. I said, Tommy Townsend hit the lottery. He's a very good punter. He's going to punt for years in that league, but he was drafted to the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. So he is going to be in a lot of Super Bowls.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, for a long time, Florida's most famous player in the pros was the kicker named Don Chandler. You know, he came from JUCO and was a great kicker, Florida punter, I should say. He punted for the Giants for years and what have you. But yeah, no, Tommy Townsend's big time.
Yep. Andy wants to know, buddy, who's your favorite Gator basketball player? I don't know if he's referring to this team or all time.
Right now, it's Ronnie Kugel. And I said that last year. And I told him that last spring. And I think when he played right, he's my favorite player. All-time favorite would be a little more difficult to pick. I mean, Noah's right up there. You can pick almost anybody off that team and say favorite. But no, I have to say my friend Augie Griner, who was not a great player, but a great friend. I would say right now, if I had to pick one guy as my all-time favorite, it would have to be those 04. I'm gonna go with Noah right now.
Joakim Noah.
Yeah,
he was pretty good.
I tell you what,
Al Horford was a good one too.
Him, Shane, was in addition to the fact that he was a terrific all-around player. He could block a shot, block it, take the ball, and run the break from the middle like a guard. As a guy that big, and he's graceful. He was just fun to watch. He played the game with a great amount of joy, and I really enjoyed watching him play.
All right, we got a text here on the Titan MR text line before we get you out of here, buddy. It's from Robert. He says, buddy, when are you going to give us some positivity about Gator sports?
Yeah, Robert was on my case last night about it too, and he got told off by some of our listeners, whatever. Look, I don't know what you want me to do. Shall I make up a headline? I'm rooting for the headlines just like everybody else is. I used to be called a sunshine popper because all I said was positive things. I don't have anything good, anything great to say about this program right now. I'm sorry. It's behind schedule. They're not real good right now. I don't know when it will change. It has nothing to do whether I like Bailey or don't like Bailey. I can't make up stories. They are what they are, okay? So as a journalist, I go with what the story is. I would love to have the right stories about a team winning the SEC like Billy's right now, but we don't have that. So the positivity, I don't know. They'll have to make their own. I just report it and talk about it.
All right. Chris from Cottondale just texted on the Titan MR text line. How can Buddy love Noah and Kugel as his favorites? There's no similarities there.
So you didn't say something.
Everybody's on your case today, buddy. Everybody's on your case today. Okay. Get them off your case.
I can do what I want to. By the way, I have my show tonight, and I can also do what I want to on my show. But thank you for listening, folks. I'll be having my own opinions.
Right. All right, buddy. Who you got on your program tonight before we get you out of here?
We have our usually star-studded lineup. David Whitley from the Sun will be on. He'll give you some positivity. And Coach Lauren Meadows will give you some ball talk, too. Tonight on the program, live from right here in Panama City, it's the Buddy Martin Show.
All right. And Dan says we need to have a menu item at Spurrier's called Corners and Post. I agree with that.
That's a great idea. I love that.
Corners and Post. Corners and Post.
All
right, buddy. Shane? Have a good –
All right.
What's that?
I want you to write an article on the meatball for next year's football. Just what you talked about was great.
On a meatball? About a meatball?
No. No. I want you to write a column called Deep Ball.
Oh, Deep Ball. I thought you said
Deep Ball.
We were talking about Spurriers. You said meatball. I was like, I don't know about that. Okay. We'll figure something out, buddy. I appreciate your time, my man.
All right, my man. Thanks.
That's Buddy Martin. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Take a quick time out. We'll come back. We'll be joined by senior writer for FloridaGators.com. Get your basketball questions ready. Chris Harry will be joining us.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Campus USA, put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, watch. Duffield Home Improvements for your window, siding, and roofing needs. Radware, your local provider of promotional products, uniforms, and apparel. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Silverback Concrete, Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Radware, F45, Quality Plumbing. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okito America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Q Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Silverback Concrete's a family-led team of heavy concrete specialists that build commercial structures with unrivaled quality. Silverback Concrete, you stand on it, we stand by it. We're going to go back to the Titan MR hotline, courtesy of Duffield Home Improvements, joined by senior writer Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com. Good morning, Chris. How you doing, bud?
Good morning, Shane. So I see I'm getting a still version of you. Could I have gone with a still version of myself?
You could have, but everybody loves some Chris Harry. So you're live. I'm live, but I'm not in town. So
okay.
Chris, before we jump into Gator basketball, I wanted to get to This Day in Sports, which is brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. Puts a star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. I'll say this just for you.
Okay.
This Day in Sports. In 1937,
okay.
Do you know who received approval from the NFL to move to Washington, D.C.?
I would say the Washington football team of that era moved. They were either the Boston Braves or the Boston Redskins, right?
They were the Boston Redskins. They received approval from the NFL to move to Washington, D.C.
Okay.
In 1937. I knew you knew the answer to that. Good,
How about
good
that?
stuff.
George Preston Marshall was their owner at the time. Believe it or not.
Well, that I don't know. They didn't tell me that on this app.
Okay.
So anyway, maybe the Redskins will trade for Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and y'all can go back to a Super Bowl.
Do you think they should draft Caleb Williams or Drake May, Jaden Daniels, or stick with Sam Howell and build around him?
When do they pick?
Second.
Oh.
It's the highest pick.
I like Sam. I like Sam Howell a lot. But gosh, if Jaden Daniels or one of those, or Caleb or Drake May's there, that'd be tough.
No, the two of the three of them will definitely be there. I mean,
yeah.
That
would be tough.
Jaden Daniels is pretty intriguing to me, don't you think?
Yeah, I think he's
or is he a gamble? Is he more of a gamble than the other two?
Caleb Williams has a lot of Pat Mahomes in him.
Mm-hmm.
Drake May's going to be a big, strong arm guy that can move around. A lot, very smart. But Jaden Daniels is that Lamar Jackson, but a much better thrower. And they're all three intriguing to me. And I'm sure we're going to get all kinds of information. They're going to break them down and critique them and check their hand size and all that kind of nonsense. But those three dudes, I think, are going to be really good pros.
Okay. All
right. Let's talk about the mighty Gator basketball team. The Auburn game kind of went how I anticipated. I told JC I thought we'd handle Auburn because they don't play great away from their arena, and they aren't a great scoring or shooting basketball team. and they don't have great height. And I
Mm-hmm.
think our height bothered them, and they ran into a buzzsaw. We looked well rested. Your thoughts on the Auburn outcome?
Yeah, you say they don't score. I think they scored 99 in their game before in just destroying Alabama, which was one of their most impressive wins of the year, if not the most impressive one. But yeah, the circumstances were very, very similar to a week earlier, where Florida was coming off that huge overtime win at Kentucky and had to roll into. Now that was a road game, unlike Auburn's game against Alabama was a home game, but had to stay on the road and go on to play Texas A&M, a team that really, really needed a win badly. Those, Florida, I don't think played terrible that game. They didn't play well the last 12 minutes of the game, and A&M kind of got the game going the way they wanted. I was obviously at the game. The crowd was very much into it, and it was a missed opportunity. We lose a game 60, 67, 66, and you miss those shots in close. But Florida had a whole week to bounce back from that and work toward preparing for Auburn, whereas Auburn had to deal with a midweek game against Bama. So the circumstances, the confluence of events where the stars were aligned well, however you want to say it. But you still got to play well. And I think Florida played really, really well. And the thing that jumped out at me that day, and certainly jumped out at Bruce Pearl, was you mentioned height. And yeah, they thought they could have an advantage down low, but they had a huge advantage at the guard play position. And those three guys together, we've been talking all year mostly about two guys. Now, Riley Kugel has been invigorated of late, and you see it in practice. You see it behind closed doors. You see it in his demeanor. You see it in the way he deals with people, whatever's going on with him. And this is an enigmatic kind of guy, he's kind of gotten back to not only who he was, but who he needs to be for Florida to be the best version of itself. And if he all of a sudden starts playing like Riley Kugel like the other day, and I'm not talking about 22 and 7 every game or something. If it's 15 and whatever, if it's 12 and he's playing the way he's playing right now, he shoots 45% from 3-point line in SEC play, Shane. This would be almost like going out and trading for an impact player who can help you, win big time. And that's the situation Florida is in right now. Very well balanced. They've settled on their rotation of 8. They know what they want. They know who they are. And now it's a matter of putting it all together and following up a win like the other day with, by beating an LSU team that, on paper you should be able to beat at home, and it shouldn't even be there shouldn't be anything dramatic about it.
When you look at this team, and we've been talking about the guard play with Pullen and Clayton Jr. and Will Richard, I think when he knocks down shots, this team really is hard to beat. But those two other guys, and I know Riley Kugel, we're going to talk about him in a second, but the Clayton and Pullen, they're just dogs, however you want to put it. They're not scared to take a shot. They're physical. They get after you. I know Clayton at times doesn't play great defense, but it's just those kind of guys that know how to win and score the basketball. And I think as the season progresses and getting into the tournament, which I think they're going to be in the tournament, I think they're going to cause some problems. Don't you think those two guys are the key to this team, or is it more what Riley Kugel does?
No, I always believe obviously. I mean, it's the collectiveness of them. But I mean, to your point, Shane, man, Zion Pullen's been a godsend. Remember, he didn't get here until June, and what he's been able to do—that's my wife in the back, by the way. Get it? She's getting ready for her. For him landing here and just, I mean, no one would have known anything about Zion Pullen having been at Cal Riverside last year. I mean, do you watch Big West games? Do you stay up till 11 o'clock and watch Big West? Right, exactly. No. But to your point,
tell you what their nickname is, and I'm pretty good at that.
His physicality, okay, and all the things that you mentioned. He's not afraid of the moment. He's not afraid to take big shots. He can go get big shots. He takes good shots. You don't see him jacking up ridiculous threes. And on the defensive end, you don't have to worry about him because he's going to be doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's probably going to take the best player, the best offensive player on the other team, and he's going to play 30 to 31, 32 minutes. Walter Clayton is a guy who you expect him, he's going to score. I think the A&M game, I think he didn't have a good game. It was his first game, I think, in like 12 games where he hadn't scored double figures. Gators lose by 1 point. They need him to be that guy. But I think I made the point on the show a couple weeks ago. They remind me of that 1-2 punch that Florida had with Dan Cross, the physical, penetrating, probing guy who can hit occasional big time 3-point shots, and then Craig Brown on the wing who could hit those kind of like the sniper assassin kind of guy. Now you throw Riley Kugel into the mix, and that's some punch in the backcourt, man. And as long as they can keep it going, and the thing about this team is maybe when one guy falls back a little bit, then you can lean on something else. I mean, we're not talking about Will Richard right now, but Will Richard had a 2-game string a couple weeks ago. I think he had 24 one game, then 22 the next game. I think he only had 2 points in the Auburn game the other day, and they still win by 15, 16 points. So he's capable of stepping up when one of the other guys does it. You don't know which one of these guys can potentially beat you. And that's the plan that Todd Golden went into the season with, between the front court and the back court, having a nice mix there.
Yeah, for sure. Who did we beat out for Zion Pullen?
Xavier and LSU were the 2 places I believe he visited. So he gets a crack at one of those teams tonight. But Xavier, I think if he hadn't gone to Florida, he would have ended up as Xavier.
Gotcha. Andy's question on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. Which Gator player do you think has improved their game the most since the start of the season?
I mean, Alex Condon's really good, but I kind of expected him to be really good. I will say this. I have to talk about this guy. So, we've been waiting all year for they got a 7'1" guy to be a rim protector. Micah Hanlogton had not been a rim protector. And just being at practice every day and seeing how they deal with this guy and seeing how they try to coach him and motivate him and challenge him. He had a game a couple weeks ago, against Georgia that we had 23 and 17. The other day was his best game of the season because he mattered. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he only had 4 points, but he had 9 rebounds. He had 5 blocked shots. He had 4 steals. He impacted the game on both ends of the floor. He had to be accounted for on offense, the way he screens and rolls, because he had a couple rim rolls or follow-up slams, which they like him attacking from the weak side with the putback kind of dunks. But on the defensive end, the Janai Broom, one of the best power forwards in the country, and Dylan, what's his name again? Dylan. The other forward from Alabama was coming off had coming off a 26-point game against Alabama. He's averaging 15.6 points a game in SEC play. He didn't score for the first 30 minutes of the game. He was intimidated by Micah Hanlogton packing some of his shots. So credit to what he's kind of turned himself into. Now the challenge for him is obviously going to be consistency. He'll have to face a 7-foot guy tonight, Will Baker, who's kind of like a stretch 4/5 kind of player from LSU. Transfer from Nevada. He can like 36% 3-point shooter. A little different challenge for him, not a physical one. But Micah is only a sophomore, man. He was freshman of the year at the Sun Belt last year. He's developing into a player that maybe they envisioned, or they're kind of seeing more of it now. Let's see if he can keep building on that. It's kind of like the story of this team, which I've talked about process before. I think college basketball is a process-oriented sport. You can make huge jumps from November to February, whereas, in college football, you lose a couple games early, you got guys that aren't even thinking about winning anymore. They're thinking about what they're going to do the next season. College basketball, I think, is a little different. It provides you some grace on that front, and these guys have kind of embraced that. They enjoy themselves, and they're enjoying this little journey that they're on right now. You can tell.
Radware is a family-owned business that prides itself in excellent customer service while providing quality and affordable promotional products and customized apparel. We got Chris Harry from FloridaGators.com on the Titan Tomorrow hotline. You can follow Chris on Twitter at GatorsChris. I wanted to ask you, I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on LSU rolling into here. Will Wade, they always had some good teams. He had a bunch of NBA players. I honestly don't know anything about LSU, or I can't even tell you who their coach is right now. It's Mike something, I think.
It's Matt
But it's kinda
McMahon,
like
who was
the-
Matt McMahon was a finalist for the job that Todd Golden got here.
Okay.
He was
But
at
it's kinda
Murray.
like
He was at Murray.
LSU.
He was at Murray State. He was at Murray
That's
State.
right. Murray State. That's right. But it's kind of like LSU's kind of like, they've always been pretty decent in basketball, but they're kind of falling off the face of the earth right now. Who do we need to look out for tonight when we watch the Tigers?
Okay, well, just so you know, they opened the season by beating A&M by 15 on the road, so that ought to catch some people's attention. All the Florida coaches have to do is show the Gators film of that. You go into College Station and win by that many against a Buzz Williams team. You got some potential, obviously, to do it here. But the person that jumps off the board at them isn't even a starter. His name is Jalen Cook. Okay, he comes off the bench. He plays starter minutes. He's a point guard. He was a first-team All-American Athletic Conference player the last couple of years at Tulane. Weird story about him, Shane. He played his freshman year at LSU, then left. Okay, so he played the last 2 seasons at Tulane. Scored, I think, averaged 19 points a game over the 2 seasons. And now he's right around 15 a game here. He set the career assist record at Tulane in just 2 years. Very, very talented player, a guy they're going to have to concern with. I mentioned the 7-footer Baker that they have to concern themselves with. Player by the name of Jordan Wright, transferred from Vanderbilt. He had a double-double against the Gators last year. If you remember, Vanderbilt swept Florida last season. So they're certainly a capable team. They have lost 5 of their previous 6. The one win was a home win over Arkansas, which obviously is not a very good team. But the challenge here is to maintain and build. And that's not only a challenge for the players, it's a challenge for the coaches to keep these guys on this trajectory and kind of give them teaching moments on, how to embrace prosperity, because I don't think they did it poorly going from that Kentucky to A&M grade. They just didn't do it great. They didn't finish. This is a golden opportunity to a home win against your fans who are doing their part. The O-Dome's been really good this year, Shane, and from what I understand, they're going to sell out that Vanderbilt game weekend after this one coming up, which would be a 5th straight weekend sellout for Florida. So hopefully there'll be a good crowd in there tonight, and the Gators can feed off of it, because they got a big win Saturday, another big one Saturday, a winnable one. But don't think that Georgia won't be laying in wait with a midweek bye themselves this week. So Florida will be facing those same circumstance. It faced the Texas A&M, same one that Auburn faced last week, coming off going in to play a team that's on their home floor, that's well rested and been prepping for you for over a week.
Yeah. Roger on the Titan Mar text line says, Chris, how big was it having a week off for this Gator team? Because, when you look at, I guess it was the A&M game before the Auburn game. Yeah. We missed some shots, and people talk about when you miss little shots and they're short, your legs are tired, blah, blah, blah. But, at this point of the season, that was probably a crucial time to have some time off, don't you think?
I agree. And, there's a big difference between playing on a Tuesday and a Wednesday when you got a Saturday game. It's just beyond. Now it works the other way too, Saturday to Tuesday games. But I like the fact that this game, and I'm looking ahead, not that coaches are supposed to look ahead, and I'm certainly not a coach, but it's Tuesday.
Well, you're not a coach. You're not a coach.
That's right. So I can. So it's Tuesday game. They have Wednesday would be an off day, and then they'll prep for Georgia this weekend. But it was huge to that gentleman's question before, because again, Auburn is playing Alabama on Wednesday. That's their biggest rival. They were at the time number 12 and number 16 in the country. They were both tied for first place in the SEC. That preoccupied Auburn's thoughts for the first half of the week, whereas Florida had the first half of the week where nothing preoccupied their thoughts except the rest and preparing for Auburn. So yes, it was significant, and I think after this week, all the buys will be even heading into the last month of the season. Everyone will have had theirs.
Well, I just want to get your thoughts before we get you out of here. Obviously, Kentucky's never lost 3 games at home. They play Ole Miss, which we know Chris Beard's teams play hard. Any chance the Wildcats lose 4 in a row at Rupp Arena?
Is that game home? They're going to play 4 straight home games?
I'm pretty sure I was looking. Hang on, I can tell you right now, but I think it is. Let's see. We play at 8 o'clock, and they're the 9 o'clock game. Ole Miss at Kentucky.
At Kentucky. Wow. Well, yes, there is a chance because I think they got some dysfunction going on right there. And Calipari's been known to navigate his way through that before. And with all those NBA prospects on the team, some of those guys right now are already thinking about the draft, and that's a problem. And I was up in Kentucky a couple weeks ago, and the natives are restless up there. And when they get restless, it gets uncomfortable. But at the same time, they can get restless when they're 22-3 and they lose a game. So it's just the price you pay being in Lexington, being in Big Blue Nation, and I would think Ole Miss can go in there, but at the same time, we talked about Kentucky and how good some of those players are on the team and how much we like Reed Sheppard. He had a terrible game, I think, from what I understand, against Gonzaga the other day. So those guys will be looking to bounce back, and they have a lot of pride, and they're just too talented to write off right now. But Florida is tied with them for fifth place in the SEC.
Yeah, and then Tennessee gets hammered at College Station.
Unbelievable.
The previous game, Gators had a chance to beat the Aggies.
Right.
But boy, you talking about a team that out-physical the Tennessee Vols, it was the Aggies.
Yeah. And, being out on bail has treated Radford very, very tight. Tyrese Radford very, very well, by the way. So the Gators were on full.
What happened? What did he do? Do we know?
Yeah, he ran a stop sign and was chased down by two cops on bikes, and he evaded them and then ran another stop sign, almost caused an accident, and they couldn't find him for over a month. Actually, I think it was December, maybe close to 2 months. They finally found out who it was through a bunch of social media posts and were able to track him down. So he was arrested the day before, I think late Thursday, the night before that Saturday game. They bailed him out Friday, started the game, scored 26 points, and was really spectacular that day. So good for him.
I didn't realize he was running from the police.
Yeah.
All right, yes. Chris, good stuff. Obviously, you're covering softball as well right now. Busy time for you, right?
Well, I haven't been to any softball, but I went out there and did a story on Kendra Falvey. Obviously, that's a good team. I like everyone else, and you follow that team closely because you're such good friends with Tim. I've been waiting for these freshmen to arrive, and no one talked about Olivia Miller, and she comes out and throws a perfect game. Perfect freshman, and no one even talking about in her first appearance. I think they had a game where they only gave up one hit and lost 1-0 to Michigan. So there's still some things coming together with offensively, but this should be an interesting season, very, very fun season to look forward to for the softball team.
Yeah, very, very young team. No question about it. Chris, good stuff as always. If people they can't watch the game, they can follow you updating the game tonight, right, on Twitter?
They will. At Gators Chris, Shane.
All right, yes. Good stuff as always, my man. Appreciate your time.
See you, dude.
That's Chris Harry, one of the best in the business. Join us on the Titan Amar hotline. Hope you enjoyed today's program. Tomorrow we'll have JC. We'll also have Kevin O'Sullivan, 8:30, talking Gator baseball. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.